What's up, guys? This is your favorite urban nerd, and welcome to another episode of Urban Words. This has kind of been on my mind and my heart for a while. For those of you who kind of follow me personally, you know that I have a wonderful relationship and great respect and love for my grandmother, who's we are still so blessed to have with us. She's 102, and one of the main reasons I made the decision to move back to Texas and be closer to family was because of her, and having gone through the loss of my younger sister and another cousin who was like an older sister, and being so far away and isolated from my family. I just felt it was time to be closer to family and just be kind of surrounded by a network. And luckily it was, as I've kind of explained in an earlier episode, that it was really the God looking out, because that's when I had my run-in with my stroke and my hospital stay, and just thankfully I was here closer to family, and I think that's really what helped get me through. But right before I went into the hospital and I had the stroke, I was able to spend a week with my grandmother, and it was a really wonderful, special time. It was kind of like we kind of picked up where we left off, and we'd get up and I'd make sure she got breakfast, and she's definitely kind of declined. I wasn't aware of it at the time. To me, we just seemed like we were kind of like in our old routine of kind of getting up and watching shows. We're both kind of like quiet nature, so it's nothing for us to kind of like sit with each other and just kind of watch TV and be still and be quiet and enjoy and still have conversations. But it's not anything pressed. It's usually pretty organic and easygoing. But it wasn't until I got back from that trip that my uncle ended up telling me that after I had called just to kind of check in, he said that my grandmother, Odean, I did not know this at the time, but that she had been experiencing, I don't know if we can call it dementia, but definitely 102, definitely memory losses and challenges with recollection and identifying folks, and he said that she wasn't sure who I was, and that if she knew that was me, then she would have talked my ears off. And I have family and friends who've gone through this, and real good friends, Venetia and Ramona, who both are, big shout out to them. Hopefully I can have them on the podcast and help us kind of like walk us through some of this process of dealing with somebody who's dealing with dementia or memory loss, or and both of them having been primary caretakers for their moms for years, to kind of help us maybe unpack and just kind of deal with what that is like. And I remember even telling them before I even had started dealing with the stuff with my grandmother, that having lost my mom when I was younger, or several years ago. I think it's going on like quite some time now, a decade or so. But I remember telling them that although my mom died of cancer, lung cancer, as traumatic as that was, I think it would have absolutely broken me if I had ever walked in a room and she didn't know who I was. So I know that's just a special kind of hurt. And again, just big support to anyone has gone through this or is dealing with this. But kind of getting back to my grandmother, when my uncle told me about my grandmother not kind of knowing who I was, it's like at my big old age, here she is, 102, That's, I had a couple of moments, that just kind of really hurt my feelings and my spirit that, she didn't know who I was, because there is this kind of sense of being tethered. I think that's what our family, and especially our elders and ancestors, elders do for us. They give us a sense of our own mortality. One of the things I loved about, being around my grandparents and my father when they were alive is they always had, these stories of when we were younger. And yes, you heard them over and over again, but there was such a sense of familiarity, being familiar, consistency, grounding, again, just being tethered to people who know who you are and know your name and know your history and know your life story and know you. So to kind of have that not be there was definitely it was definitely a challenge. And I think real good spirit. I think it was a friend of mine, Amina. I think when I kind of shared this, I think she was the one that said that, be encouraged, because on some level, because, you had this wonderful visit and you said everything was pleasant, on some level, she recognized your energy and your spirit, and she knew that she was loved and she knew that she was safe. And I think that that's kind of what that's kind of like how I process now, and what gets me through it. That and we went to visit my grandmother this weekend, my baby sis, and she was going, and so I caught a ride and rode up to East Texas with her, and it was good. She was, she's in the wheelchair, she needs help. Which pretty much everything now. We have a wonderful friend of the family, Miss Dev, who stays with her a lot, and of course my uncle and other family or caretakers. But we take shift as the grandkids and go up on the weekends, and so I went up this weekend with my sister Nikki, and it's very and I'd done that with my mom, like I said, when I lost her, of the roles are almost reversed. So here you are, this woman who had, raised you and helped take care of you and washed your butt and changed diapers and fed you and made sure you're okay. Here you are now being that, switching those roles, and now we're doing that for her. And so, it's just very, very sobering, when you see her, you're holding your grandmother, and, you're seeing her bottom and seeing her naked and vulnerable, but trying to be reassuring and making sure she has dignity and she feels safe and she feels protected and seen. And so it's just been a very interesting experience. And so while we were there, Nikki had these kind of wonderful candid moments where she was kind of like walking, having these conversations about memory and people that did she remember, and she talked about our father who had passed, and my grandmother even told stories of us as children not realizing we were right in front of her as adults, her grandkids. And so it was very amusing, but also sad that she knew us, we were still there in some kind of locked portion of her memory, but she didn't have the kind of recall or awareness that we were there as these kind of grown entities of these young spirits that kind of ran around in her memory. But it was just wonderful to kind of still be there. And so I guess this has just kind of been on my spirit. This won't be a long post or I do again want to have a more prolonged conversation with a couple of guests and friends who kind of done this, and like we like to do on here at Urban Words, just kind of like open up a place and a safe space to kind of have some of these conversations, especially for those of us who are in the Gen X mature demographic, where we're kind of dealing with a lot of these experiences and challenges for the first time, and hopefully able to kind of glean wisdom and knowledge and insight from those of us who kind of like already kind of traverse some of these challenges and traverse some of these areas that may be new to the rest of us. So, and then we also just got a text from my baby sister Nikki, who had called to check on my grandmother this morning. And she had asked Miss Deb, her caretaker, to kind of put her on the phone just to check in with her. But Miss Deb said that she was not really responding, and although she was breathing, so they ended up calling an ambulance, which is pretty much a big ride because they're in the country. So I think the ambulance are taking her to the medical center in Nacogdoches. And so we got the text that, I think my uncle is in the ambulance with my grandmother and they're on their way. So just kind of sending out a big prayer circle, for my grandmother Odean, and hopefully the doctors are able to make sure she's okay and she's good. Just pray that, I think my prayer at this point is just to make sure that she's comfortable and she's doesn't suffer anything, and we just want her to be as good as she can be at this particular journey, part of her journey. So so I think I just also posted a I'm gonna call it Odean chats, because I have all this wonderful footage of her that at some point will become kind of like a kind of mini documentary, if you will, not necessarily her life, but this just kind of these kind of candid moments that I've been able to capture through all the various tape and tech changes, from I think mini DV to digital video to DSLR and eye cameras and iPhones, and just kind of see what that organic process of storytelling and sharing her insight in life and perspectives and what that will become. But just send her some energy, keep our family lifted in prayer and send us some energy, and hopefully we'll hear something positive a little later today. But just thank you guys, and hopefully I'll be posting more as things kind of settle in. I do have some other pretty cool guests scheduled, so just kind of trying to work around those schedules. But as soon as I have people penciled in, I'll start putting some promos out, so you guys will be on the lookout. So anyway, this was just about sharing a little bit about my wonderful diva grandmother, Odean Easley. And thank you guys for kind of tuning in and listening and hearing about Odean. So again, hopefully we'll see you guys on another episode of Urban Words, where we always kind of get nerded and worded, and we'll see you guys on the next go round. All right, stay urban and worded, or nerded and worded. Right, be good.